Administration looking very seriously right now at the possibility of at least getting a commission going to look into maybe extending and expanding the number of justices that sit on the Supreme Court itself. There are 9 justices right now. Karl Rove on the implications of that. Apparently it's going to be a bipartisan commission, Republicans and Democrats. I don't have a breakdown on who's going to be on that, Karl, but we do know in the past Joe Biden has said even when FDR was doing it, trying to pack the court, it was a bonehead idea. So what's changed?
Well, hard to say. I've seen a partial list, and there are only 2 Republicans on the list that I saw, but there may be more. But here's the giveaway. The co-chairman is Bob Bauer. And before the 2008 election, he was DNC general counsel and general counsel for Obama 2008 presidential campaign. He was counsel for the Obama re-elect in 2012. DNC general counsel. In the 2020 election, he helped Biden vet his vice presidential running mates, and then in the debate prep, played Donald Trump in the debate prep for Joe Biden. So here we have a very touchy issue. Should we or should we not expand the Supreme Court? And rather than having a legal scholar with broad bipartisan respect, they put in, with all due respect to Mr. Bauer, whom I'm sure is an excellent lawyer, a political hack lawyer. And this is not going to increase the sense that this is a commission that is not going to be highly political, highly partisan, and arrive at what the left of the Democratic Party wants. I will be very surprised if they don't come up with a whole bunch of ways to constrain the Supreme Court, potentially expand the Supreme Court, expand the appellate courts, expand the power of the appellate and district courts, and otherwise undermine a conservative Supreme Court, all of which will redound to the political disadvantage of the Democrats by creating an issue they don't really want to have in the 2020 election if they were thinking about it. 2022 election, excuse me.
I'm just wondering, too, be careful what you wish for, right? I mean, let's say that Joe Biden represents, a string of, Democratic administrations. We don't know what's going to happen in 2024. I mean, and if you have that going for you and a court packed with a lot of older justices, you could make an argument that you don't want to risk that now, especially if a Republican comes in and he or she can reverse what's been done. Timing is everything with this stuff, but what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think what they may try and do is say, for example, we're going to place term limits, and that way they can, say if conservative justices term out after a certain number of years or at a certain age, and then they get replaced by the sitting president, and miracle of miracles, that works to the advantage of the Democrats. What I worry about is this is about partisanship. This is about a partisan reaction to the fact that there are now 6 conservative judges on the Supreme Court. And if we don't want to undermine confidence in the Supreme Court, we shouldn't be playing partisan games with it. Look at what's happening now. Justice Breyer, who's 80 years old, a liberal, is now the left of the Democratic Party is demanding that he resign now so that he can be replaced with a much younger Democrat. I mean, that's sort of an indication of how highly politicized the court is. Do we really want to politicize it even more by this commission and coming up with some stupid ideas?
You know what? I do see a pattern here, though, Karl, and you follow this more closely than I, that the administration is hearing progressives and is bending to their wishes. Even this so-called skinny budget that the president announces is sort of like a blueprint for a lot of pet progressive causes, including holding the line on defense spending and boosting it dramatically for everything else, including health and human services and transportation and all these other pet projects. At the same time, we've had a lot of spending and a lot of plans for infrastructure that aren't all infrastructure, and COVID stimulus that isn't all going to COVID. This is a pattern, and the administration does play ball with that pattern.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it's worse than you said. On defense spending, they did put a 2% increase in defense spending. But as I read the description of it, they're putting a bunch of climate measures into the defense budget. So in reality, I bet the defense budget is not only not increasing at the rate of inflation, I think probably real defense expenditures are declining. And yet on the social side of the budget, we're having a 20% increase in the budget in 1 year after we've had a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief relief bill, of which a very small fraction, maybe a couple of $100 billion out of $2 trillion, is really related to COVID relief. The rest of it is for creation of a whole bunch of new government spending programs that are going to.
In this budget, Carl, Department of Education is going to get 41% more dough, bringing it to $102 billion. Health and Human Services, more than 23%. Public housing, 15%. I could go on and on. But I know inflation's been ticking up, but it's running at about a 2 to 2.5% rate. It's not running at a 41% rate, not running at a 23% rate, not running at a 15% rate.
Yeah, think what you just said. You just said that they're going to give a bunch of money to education. That makes the teacher unions, which refuse to open up our schools, very happy. You talked about a dramatic increase in public housing. Big city mayors, virtually every one of them Democrat, they're going to love that. What we're seeing here is a laundry list not only of the left's most fervent policy goals, but we're also seeing a lot of payola to the Democratic Party's institutional supporters. And you know, it stinks. It's a bad budget from what I can read so far, and the idea that it is a skinny budget is ridiculous in the environment in which we are. Think about this: we have spent, between that budget and the $2 trillion, we will be spending over $5 trillion plus the interest on the national debt and mandatory spending on top of that. We're going to be spending in this year probably $7 trillion, as much as $7 trillion.
Yeah, it could ultimately get as high as 9. But you're right. The only good news out of it, Carl, is they call it a skinny budget, which has now forced me to say I'm only mildly overweight. So that's not a bad, you know, a bad compromise there.
You got to take your comfort where you can get it. You got to take your comfort where you can get it.
It's in the eye of the beholder. All right, thank you, my friend. Karl Rove, best-selling author.